I'm Jodi Guerra with Excelsior Classes, and this is Book Banter, a video blog where we tell you what you should be reading next. This installment deals with one of my favorite authors. I brought a few props along from my collection to show you. Let's see if you can guess. Here is one of my pencil bags. Yep, carry all my pencils. I also have that as a book bag. How about that? The book bag. And finally, no outfit is complete without your very own, yep, you guessed it, Edgar Allan Poe socks. Now, the fun thing about today is that we're not going to be discussing Edgar Allan Poe as an author. We're going to be discussing him as a character, kind of a metafiction idea where an author is now a character in some book and the reimaginings of some new author. So I've got a few recommendations for you. And the first one is a children's book. It is by the very popular Avi. He has written a series of books. You may have read many of them about Poppy. Oh my goodness, he's such a great children's author. But this one is called The Man Who Was Poe. I had to go check out the book from the library to be able to show it to you because ours has become tattered. Anyway, this book deals with a young boy named Edmund who is a twin. His twin sister has gone missing, and Edmund thinks that after an encounter with a man, a mysterious man whose name is Poe, that the two of them might be able to find his sister. So just a great way to kind of introduce a young reader to the person of Edgar Allan Poe without getting too deep into the craziness of some of his stories. But now I have a few recommendations for the adult, probably mature high school adult reader. And this one is by Matthew Pearl. It's called The Poe Shadow. The Poe Shadow. Oh my goodness, when this book came out, I just was entranced. It's so interesting. This book deals with a young lawyer named Quentin Clark who lives in Baltimore, and he is a fan of the author Edgar Allan Poe, who has now mysteriously died. And if you know much about Poe, you know that his death is considered one under mysterious circumstances. But in this fan fiction kind of thing that Pearl has done, so interesting, Clark is going to investigate the death of Poe, and he believes that by finding the inspiration for Poe's detective, Dupin, that he might be able to have a successful outcome in his investigation. So he travels to Paris to try to find him, and then he meets someone that he thinks is the actual inspiration for Poe's detective, and this is that story. Now, what I loved about it was just the character of Quentin Clark, but also Pearl's writing style. It is very, very robust in terms of his mimicking of Poe and Poe's style, and then the detective. So if you know anything about Poe, Poe is the creator of what we now know as detective fiction, right? The detective novel, the detective mystery. And so he is the creator of that entire field through 3 different short stories that follow a mysterious detective named Dupin. So I just loved the tie-in. I thought it was so interesting. I think you would love the book too. Again, it's called The Poe Shadow. Now, Poe's detective was not created by, or inspired by, I should say, a real Dupin, as Matthew Pearl's character is in his book, but he based him off of a real French detective. He wasn't called a detective, but he was basically, that's what he was, named Vidocq. Now, Vidocq was an actual criminal who kind of switched sides and became a person working for the Parisian police, helping them to solve crimes. And so this book that I'm going to recommend next, while not centering around Poe as a character, does, kind of extend this investigation a little bit, and it is called The Black Tower by Louis Bayard, a writer, really a gifted writer, and he is based out of Washington, D.C. In any case, this story follows Vidocq as he is trying to investigate something happening between some the fate of the Dauphin, who of Marie Antoinette's son. Anyway, it is a very, very interesting book, and I just really loved it. Again, this one is probably for the adult reader. And then finally, I have another recommendation. This is my last one, but it is by the same author, Louis Bayard, and this one is called The Pale Blue Eye. This one happens to follow a young Edgar Allan Poe who was a cadet at West Point, and that is true. Poe was a student at West Point, and there are a series of murders that are occurring there at West Point, and a local civilian, kind of a detective himself or a criminologist named Augustus Landor, comes to try to solve these murders. And so there's a lot of interaction between Poe and Augustus. Now, I really can't say any more about the book because there are so many wonderful plot twists that I will give away the entire book. But this is probably one of my top 10 favorite reads, just because I thought that it really mimicked Poe in some very fundamental ways. Again, this one I think is for a very mature reader. Parents, utilize some discretion on this one. But I hope that you will like it. Again, it's called The Pale Blue Eye, and it is by Louis Bayard with a young Edgar Allan Poe. In any case, I hope that you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and we will have some more book recommendations for you shortly. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.